Hey guys, how you doing? It's Gavin here from Start Fresh Personal Training, and today's video is a question I was asked in my Facebook group about how to lose the last 5 kilos. Now, it gets a little bit harder as you get down in weight, and simply because that when you first start actually losing weight, certainly if you're overweight anyway, and this particular client Penny I'm talking about, she's already lost 40 odd kilos. And she wants to lose another 5. So for her it's going to be a little bit harder than when you first starting out. But I'm going to quickly draw a bullseye on the board. I'm trying to basically explain to you, the processes that you need to go through. So this is my awesome little bullseye, if you like. Okay, my dartboard, right? So when we're talking, when most of us start to try and lose weight, okay, what you tend to do is that you go to the gym and you start going on a diet and things like that. And what sort of happens is that you can pretty much start throwing darts at the board, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be all out focused, and simply just cutting some calories and exercising more. If you've got quite a lot of weight to lose, it's going to start moving that process forward. But the more weight you kind of lose, the more refined that your target has to be. So what was really cool about when I first started to lose weight, I was really overweight, so I could get away with doing things right, half the time. And as long as I'm, thinking on the old principle of calories in versus calories out, I'm going to be pretty much on track to losing some weight. But when I started to lose weight and wanted to get my 6-pack, which I don't have anymore, by the way, because it was too hard to maintain, you really start to have to focus in a little bit more. So here I was focusing on calories. And then as you come into the ring, then you got to start concentrating on maybe food quantity, quality. Then you're looking at more exercise training, and then you come down and you really start to refine what you do. So in these outer rings, maybe you can have the odd takeaway. Maybe you can have the McDonald's, milky coffees. Then you're coming in, you're going to start removing refined processed foods and start having more whole foods. And then as you come in, then you're going to start to become a little bit more laser focused, and this is where consistency really comes into it. Doing the same sort of things regularly, day in, day out, consistent, and that is where you're going to get your results from. So I've broken it down into about 4 or 5 things of how you can actually refine everything. And what I want you to try and do is take something away from it and implement it into your own sort of diet, and I promise you that you're going to start to see some results and you get the last 4 or 5 kilos off. So we're going to look at the first one I really believe in is your food quality versus quantity. So I always harp on about MyFitnessPal, absolutely fantastic tool. But when you want to start getting down to the nitty gritty of it, you really need to start looking at your food quality as much as the quantity. Okay, so yes, calories are important, but they say not all calories are equal. I kind of agree. If you're eating lots of carbohydrates, let's say lots of refined carbohydrates like breads and biscuits and things like that, you really need to start looking at the quality of those carbohydrates. You need to be looking at ones with more fiber, more fruit, more vegetables. Start cutting out some of that other stuff. So quality versus quantity becomes a massive deal. And I'm going to give you maybe a couple of examples of what I mean by that. Okay, so you got quantity. Let's just say you got 100 grams. Okay, so 100 grams of, let's just say, a fatty lamb. Okay, not a lot of protein in there, a lot of fat in there, but you could equally change 100 grams to lean protein, just like chicken, right? So by changing the slight quality of the slice of meat, you're going to get an increase in protein, you have a decrease in fat, and you're going to probably feel fuller as well because you have more protein. And that is kind of what I mean. Then you're going to look at, let's just say 100 grams of white bread. If you change that to wholemeal bread, straight away you're going to get more fiber in your whole grains. You're going to feel fuller for longer, which is less likely to impact on your overall eating, and it's going to have some extra vitamins and stuff in there. And what's a really good thing about that as well, you're not going to get such an insulin response. An insulin response is essentially where your insulin is elevated because you've eaten some carbohydrates, and it helps break down the glucose, or it's developed in the pancreas. And what it does is it's a hormone that helps facilitate the glucose broken down from the carbohydrate to go into your muscles and cells and everything else for energy. All right. But if you have a white bread, let's say, or refined carbs, you get a bit of a higher insulin response, and it kind of gives your blood sugar level a bit of a spike, kind of causes you to have the lows and the dumps afterwards, and you could get hungry quicker, which could lead into overeating down the track and feeling a bit lethargic. But if you go off the whole grains, you're going to have a better quality of food, you're going to have a better insulin response. It's more sustained energy as well as you go through the day, and you'll be less likely to want to snack. So that's another way of doing it. Then you're going to look at maybe what we looked at. So even like fats, let's say. So I'm not going to say I have 100 grams of fat, but let's say 10 grams of fat. So if you've got 10 grams of like margarine, you know, margarine isn't too great for you, but if it could be olive oil, or it could be if you're using fish oils, coconut oils, all these oils are better, they're better quality. So some of the fats in these, certainly coconut oil and meat fats, something called linoleic acid, which basically helps with enzymes to help break down fat. So that's a better quality of fat. So we're looking at it need to be quality versus quantity. So that's really, really important when it comes to nutrition. So the next one is protein. Okay, I've spoken about protein before, but protein is super important if you want to try and lose some weight. Okay, so protein essentially has a high, what they call it, thermic effect of feeding, a TEF, which means that to digest the protein, quite a high amount of calories from that protein source go to speeding up your metabolism. Your body needs to work extra hard to break it down. Okay, so they reckon it's about 30% of the calories that come from a lean protein source go into digestion, as opposed to I think it is I think it's 15% for carbohydrate or something along those lines. So when you think we're in that respect, you know, there's a double the thermic effect of feeding from carbohydrate, which is super important. So straight away, by getting extra protein in your diet, okay, you're gonna obviously start to burn your metabolism to burn faster. Now it's not a miracle cure, okay. Like I said, when you go back to that the bullseye, brain fart. You need to come down and be consistent with these things. Okay, so these are the tips. Okay, they're not just miracles. It's not going to happen overnight. You need to be really, really consistent with them for them to work. So more protein consistently over time is going to help with this. Okay, don't just think you're going to eat a big high protein meal and you're going to lose weight straight away. So that's really important. Up your protein. A lot of people that start exercising, they don't eat nowhere near enough. Out of all the hundreds of clients I've been through, that is one thing that's massively lacking, and seems to be the hardest thing for them to increase. It doesn't have to be difficult, okay? And you know, when you think of adding extra protein, you just need to add extra protein. It is that simple. So if you normally eat, you know, I don't know, let's just say 100 grams of chicken, then you need to increase your chicken by up to 200 grams of chicken per meal, or whatever it is for you. It is literally all about increasing the amount of protein. And if you're not sure how to do it, then a simple way to do it is to work out how much protein you need outside of this video, and then break it down. So let's just say you on average eat 5. Like for me, let's say I do about roughly 200 grams per day, and I eat 5 or 6 times a day. So I just divide that by 6. And it gives me about 33 grams per meal I eat. And it isn't actually that much, it really isn't. So that's how I work out. So I'll try and get 33 grams of protein per meal, and that's going to massively help me. So over time, consistently, every single day, you're going to be hitting your protein goal, and you're going to really see some big differences in that respect. Not only that, extra protein is going to help you recover from the gym, it's going to help you lift a little bit more because you should be training, and it's going to do a whole bunch of other things as well. So really, really important, get up your protein, double the quantity or work it out, divide it by over 4 or 5, 6 meals, and you're going to be absolutely fine. And that is exactly how you need to do it. Alright, another big one is increase your calories. Now this might seem a little bit against the grain if you're trying to lose weight, but what you tend to find is that people, I can draw another chart on the board, when you start to lose weight, okay, so I'm going to do two lines. The top line is going to be fat, and the bottom line is going to be metabolism. When you start to lose weight, okay, which is this line here, what happens is your metabolism will decrease to correspond to your weight loss, because at the end of the day, you become a lighter version of yourself, which means you need less calories at rest, therefore your metabolism slows down. So when you get to this point, depending on how you've done this, okay, if you started off at a high amount of calories, you'd be okay, and you've got room to maneuver. But if you've been on quite a low calorie diet for a significant amount of time, yes, you're going to lose weight, but it's going to get stuck at some point, because literally, if you're now eating 1,200 calories per day and you're exercising, okay, and you may be burning 600 calories by exercise, you're only taking in 600 calories per day, which means that your body kind of gets a little bit undernourished, and you get a little bit hungry, and what happens is your weight loss will stall. Absolutely, if you continue to eat like that, you probably lose some more weight, because, think about it, if you're not eating enough, your body will eventually give up the fat, but it's quite uncomfortable. So what I tend to say to my clients is increase your calories by 200 calories by 200. Take it up to 1,400, and what that does is it kind of sends a signal to your body that you're not starving anymore, and when you're not starving anymore, your body will more likely tend to give up the fat stores, because at the end of the day, your fat is stored for a reason. It's stored there in times of famine, where potentially you're going to go for long periods of time without meals, and your body will fight you every step of the way. Your body doesn't want to lose fat, because if you store lots of fat, it's done it for a reason, and it doesn't want to give it up. So you need to try and tell your body, look, hey, listen, we're not starving, I just want to lose some body fat. And you do that by increasing your calories. And you do that by increasing calories from protein, good quality carbohydrates like I just talked about. And what will happen is your metabolism will start to settle down, and your body fat will still continue to drop a little bit, because you're still exercising. And you're maybe building a little bit of muscle at the same time. Look, you've got more calories now to play with, and that will really help. And the way to monitor that is just to do it, increase it by 200, and see what your weight does. If it goes up massively, then take it down to 100 and just sit in it for a while. And this again comes down to consistency, getting that little, that towards that little bullseye. And you sit in it for a little while. You're not going to put on hundreds, loads and loads of kilograms by adding a couple of 100 calories to your diet every day. You just need to let it settle down. It takes a little bit of time for your body to kind of adjust to it, and then it'll start to happen, I promise you, right? So this is another strategy that you can use. Increase your calories a little bit from protein and good quality complex carbs. So looking at exercise intensity, another big one, okay? If you've been going to the gym for a little while and you're just going through the motions, you're no longer feeling that sore anymore, and the weights are getting a little bit easier, then you need to start looking at your exercise intensity, okay? And there's two kind of ways you do it. So with weight training, what you can do is you can utilize something called failure, okay? So if you're not going to failure in your exercises, start hitting failure, okay? Because then that starts sending a signal to your body that you're working a little bit harder, and it's going to try and give up those little fat stores to help recover, basically. Something called the epoch effect, the exercise post-oxygen consumption. And what that does is when you work at a higher intensity, your body uses fat to basically as energy, and it leaves something called an oxygen debt, basically, which needs to be repaid back. That is why high intensity interval training is really good for fat burning, because you work at a high intensity. Your body kind of borrows energy, if you like. It needs to be paid back. It's paid back with fat, and you continue to burn some calories after your workout. It's not a huge amount, but it's something small. Again, going back to that bullseye, it needs to be consistent and small, and over time to do it. So you can use failure. If you are going to failure on your weight training exercises, then you can go beyond failure, and you can use that by using drop sets, which I think I will link to a video for drop sets, so I'll add that in. Drop sets, could be rest pause sets. I've had really good results with this sort of thing as well, because they work. So what you do is you take your body to muscle failure, then you put a drop set, you use a lighter weight, and you keep on repping out for an extra little bit, just to take you past that. So the idea of it is to really sort of deplete the muscle glycogen stores, which is the energy within the muscles, to create the epoch effect, obviously burn extra bit of fat. Then you can do it through cardio as well. So really basically, if you're doing cardio and you're doing the odd standard 30 minutes on a treadmill or a bike, then start adding some intervals into it. So, you know, if you're doing a 40-minute session on a bike, let's say, break that up and you're going to do 2 minutes at a normal intensity, so about a 6 or 7 out of 10, and then you're going to ramp it up for a minute or 30 seconds, and you're going to try and take it up to a 9 out of 10. That's going to force your heart rate to spike, so it's going to hopefully get that high intensity interval training moving on, going to help that epoch effect, and hopefully you burn some more calories over time, and you will start to lose a little bit of fat. So you really sort of increase your exercise intensity, and that'll be a really good way to do it as well. Okay, the last thing I'm going to talk about is fasting or calorie cycling. You may have heard of carb cycling, okay, but I want to talk to you about calorie cycling because it's a little bit easier than carb cycling, in my opinion. So fasting has some really, really amazing benefits. I've used it myself personally and I've had some really, really good results on it. But ultimately what you're doing, you're basically reducing calories, okay? So again, we're going back to calories in, calories out, and the old, you know, that is an overriding principle of what we need to do. So you're going to try and manipulate it by doing that. So fasting, let's just say, pick a day of the week. You can do intermittent fasting if you want to, which is you know, consistently, but I find it really hard to stick to sometimes. But fasting for maybe 1 or 2 days a week, and all you're going to do, dead simple, is, you know, you're going to fast for 16 hours and you're going to eat for 8. So pick a day or 2 days of the week, and your last meal, let's just say, is going to be dinner, 7 p.m. And then you're not going to eat anything for 16 hours. So 7, 8, 9, 10, so it's going to be 11 a.m. So you don't eat anything till 11 a.m. the next day, which basically means you skip breakfast, okay? And then you go straight in for lunch right there. Then you're gonna finish eating again at 7 p.m. Okay, it gives you an 8-hour feeding window, and you're gonna eat, you know, whatever that would be. It might be lunch, snack, dinner. Okay, so potentially you're gonna cut out an evening snack, cut out your breakfast. Might save you 500-600 calories that one day. But what that does, it's a really nice way to do it without starving yourself for the whole week, where you just, you know, pick one day of the week, maybe a Sunday, whatever, Monday, doesn't matter, and just try it. And what you find is, you know, you can still track your calories. I still recommend MyFitnessPal, and you will see for that day how many calories that you've saved just by doing the fasting. So therefore, over the course of a week, which I always talk about, you know, calculating your calories over a week, you will essentially cut out maybe 500 or 600 calories per week doing the old a day or two of fasting, which means then obviously, you know, your energy intake is decreased by 500 by doing literally nothing else different apart from a fasting. So that's a really another strategy to do it. You do it 2 days a week if you wanted to, whatever, see what happens and play with it. Again, be consistent with it, do it for a month, see how you go. Then you got calorie cycling, okay? So I like that one a little bit more, to be honest with you, because what it does then, if you train 4 or 5 times a week and your calories are 2,200, just like mine are right now. So on your non-training days, you're going to cut out 300 calories from your MyFitnessPal. So why 300 calories? Well, I burn off roughly 300 to 400 calories a workout, sometimes more, but usually about that. Which means that on a non-training day, and I'm not training, I don't need to eat as many calories. So again, by doing this, so for me, two non-training days, I've cut out 600 calories from my diet for the week. Easy, no issues at all. And it's a really, really non-intrusive way to do it. That just works for me. So there's 2 little nutritional strategies that you can use if you wanted to get things moving. So, all are they basically to help you lose those last 4 or 5 kilos. Do I recommend doing them all in one go? Absolutely not. What I want you to do is pick one of those things and give it a go. And you can absolutely refine it over time. So pick one, whatever it is you decide, just one, and give it a try for a month period, okay? Just 4 weeks. Be consistent for 4 weeks and see what happens. I promise you that you will start to be able to, you know, see how your body reacts. Let's just say you tried the more protein, didn't like it that much. All right, cool, let's just go to the next one. And, you know, use the fasting, or use the reducing calories on non-training days. Whatever it is for you, give it a go, you know. But ultimately, you know, you want to be trying to eat a little bit better. So what I will say is try to look for quality food as opposed to, you know, crap food anyway. It'll make you feel tons better, and that'll be the sort of underpinning of what you do. Track with MyFitnessPal so you get a really good understanding. You're collecting data. You become your own little scientist, if you like, and get that done. And I promise you, those extra calories will come off. You know, if you're on a really low calorie diet, I would recommend putting your calories up just a little bit, because you don't want to be reducing any more calories because you're already, you know, really low as it is. So depending on where you are on the scale, depending on that bullseye, pick something that you can do consistently for a month and give it and just knock it over. And if it doesn't work, try something different. And then what you might be able to do is pair them up. So pick two things and work them both together. Whatever it is for you, just give it a go, right? So they're my kind of like, you know, rundown of how to lose those last extra 5 kilos, and it'll work for you. It does. There's no doubt about it. Just give it a go. It's going to be consistent and do it. So if you like this video, please give me a subscribe and a like. Maybe leave a comment if you want me to clarify anything. But a big video with lots of information. Just try and have a go at it. And as always, guys, you know, if you don't make a change, start afresh, because if you don't make a change today, how will tomorrow be any different?